I need a gift. I have a friend who just redid her bedroom. It's an old house. There's not a lot of storage. I just don't know what to give her. Storage! Why didn't I think of that before? I'm going to show you how to make fat quarter baskets for something other than fat quarters. And I think I'll even make 2 different sizes. Let's get started. I am going to make a set of fat quarter baskets for my friend's dresser, just like this. She doesn't sew, so there'll be no fat quarters in it, but she can put her hairbrushes and hair clips and personal items in them on top of her dresser. To get started, you're going to need to go to my website, sisterchicksquilting.com, and print out this free pattern for fabric storage baskets. It has the measurements and the sewing instruction to make one of these baskets. I'm going to go over the supplies with you. The fabric that I have chosen is this piece by Deb Strain, and this is going to be my lining, and the outside of the basket will be this. She has done her bedroom in sunflowers with a few bees as accents, so I think this fabric is going to be perfect. Instead of white fabric that the pattern calls for, I'm using this really cute matching fabric from the line. And this will be the outside. I'm going to make her a set of 2 baskets. And on the second one, I'm going to switch it up and make this print the inside or the lining, and this one the outside. I also am going to put the decorative strip on, but a little different. Let me show you what I have in mind. I didn't make it as wide as I did on my fat quarter baskets. I made it 1 inch wide, and this is going to go on, well, maybe not. So let's do some checking out here. I'm going to put this one on this one, and on this basket, what do you think of this decorative strip? It actually has a piece of this fabric in it. Is that too much? Or do you think that this strip would look better on this pattern? You know, I'm going to have to figure it out because I'm going to be sewing these really soon. One more time. Oh, I think I'm going to do that. Now, this strip is so small, I'm choosing not to put a decorative strip of fabric down the middle of it. Let me show you how I've made these. The pattern calls for SF101. That's a Pellon product, and it's an iron-on lightweight interfacing. What I do is I cut my strip of Pellon and I put it down on my fabric side, and then I iron the seams down. At the specified time in the construction, you mark this and sew it on to your basket. It's that simple, and it gives it a really fun decorative look. For instance, I did all of my yellow fat quarters with a yellow strip, but my strip's going to be much narrower. Now, one of the supplies that the pattern calls for is Bosal brand foam, and it's an interfacing. It looks like this. It's iron-on both sides, and I find that very convenient, but you could certainly make it without the iron-on foam. There is an anti-soft and stable, and I've used that before in my baskets, and you could quilt it in. There's so many things you can do. And then it asks for a piece of batting. I'm just using 80-20 batting. I chose not to use white like the pattern says because look at the back of my fabric. It's cream. So this batting is going to be just fine. Let's move all this aside, and I'm going to show you how to make the first thing you do with these, and that's the quilt sandwich. Now I have this one made already, and I want to make sure that this is going, that the leaves are going in the same direction and the curly cues and don't think that's it, or is it? I don't know if it really matters, but if you have a directional print when you're making this, make sure you pay attention and cut your directional print so it works together. These all kind of seem to be going down. I'm going to use this direction. Now you've seen me orient. And this sandwich is already made. And what it is a layer of the outer fabric, a layer of the Bosal foam, and a layer of the batting. So that's how you put this together. Now, as far as the exact size goes, the pattern says to make this measurement 16.5 and this measurement 10 inches. On one of the baskets, I'm going to cut 2 inches off. I thought it would be cute and artsy if the baskets were 2 different sizes. Let's start with the Bosal and a piece of the batting. Now, batting has a right side and a wrong side, especially if it's 80-20 or 100% cotton. Some of them don't, but this one does. And the wrong side is where all of these little bumps are. It's a little bumpier here. And on this side, it looks a little softer and cloudier. So I'm going to put that side out, the top out, and I put the wrong side down, facing down. And then I'm just going to iron it down, like so. The next thing you want to do on your baskets when you get your little sandwiches made is to take a heat erasable marking pen. You know, I get mine on Amazon. I love them. Watch this. You can change them out. You get a bunch of cartridges and a bunch of these easy pens, and the ink comes in blue and black and red and cream. I love them. They mark very well. I'm using the edge of the fabric here as a guide. There's a little bit of batting sticking out, but it's the fabric that I am concerned about. So I'm going to take a 2-inch square on that corner, and I'm going to corner all of my pieces. Yep, this was the right direction. I link these pins up. They're probably one of my favorite quilting tools. I take a pair of scissors then and cut the corner off. Throw that in the garbage. And again, if you're using a directional fabric, you want to make sure that it's going the right direction before you permanently mark the bottom of the basket by taking the corners off. Guess what you do next? Put them together on the sides you want to sew, and you're only going to sew along on this side. You can sew at a 1/2 inch or a 5/8 inch seam. Just whatever you do, make sure you use that same seam allowance through the whole pattern. I'm going to take this to the machine and sew it. Before I bring these back from the sewing machine, I'm going to look at the other basket that I'm making, and I am going to take, do I want to take 2 inches off, or I'm a little nervous? What the heck, I'm going with it. I'm going to take 2 inches off of the side because this is the basket I want to make a little bit smaller. How's that? I didn't match these up either, and you can see I'm trying to figure out how I want to match them. I'm just going to go with it. But I am going to mark the 2-inch bottom on each basket. I'm also going to take this one to the sewing machine and sew 1/2 inch on this side. I have both of these with the seam sewn along here at a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to lay that seam open, give it a good press. Now I have to tell you, this foam is very easy to sew through. I want to show you how I manipulate this fabric to get it stitched down evenly. I iron it on the wrong side of the fabric. I do it by eye. It doesn't matter if it's if one side's a fraction of an inch off. What I do is go ahead and iron, and I come from the outside and kind of keep it pulled over with my fingers as I go. That's what I do to make my strip look really nice and flat. And then I do the other side. What makes the size of the strip you're putting on is the Pellon, this piece of white SF 101. On my regular bag, I say to make it a 3-inch strip. I think I cut it down to 2.5 to put it on the bags. I'm not sure. You'll have to look on the directions for that. It's all on the page. Then I always have a little too much. And by the way, this contrasting color strip is whatever you have that you want to make your bag with. And I think it's kind of a cool addition, you know, a little bit artsy. Then I turn it over and give it a good press on this side, so these edges are nice and sharp. Then when I sew it on the bag, I sew right on the edge. You probably want to know where and how I even sew it on the edge. Let me show you the tool that I use. Ta-da! A ruler and a marking pen. When I'm measuring, I always measure from the top of the fabric. The directions say to sew this 2 inches down from the top. And in looking at my baskets, that's about right, because as you can see, I took a 1/2 inch seam on the inside, and there it is 2 inches down. I could actually make it a little bit lower than 2 inches, and I'm wondering about going down 2.5 inches because it's you know, I think I'm going to stick with the 2 inches. I'm not going to custom everything out. I just go to the 2-inch line, mark it like this. Probably off camera right now, but guess what I'm doing? I'm marking. And then I lay my ruler down and draw a line right on the bag. Sometimes when we're working, we use pencils. I would not use a pencil because I want this to come off. Yeah, this is an application where definitely the heat erasable pens are the best choice. Then when I sew this strip on, I lay it right next to that. Don't you think that's cute? I do. And the other one will be plain. I have cream colored thread in my machine for this background, and I'm not going to stitch it down. So I'm going to change to black thread before I sew this on because it matters. We want this to look good. Look how cute they turned out. Now, I want to tell you a couple of things. I just top stitched this, and I only changed my top thread. So my top thread was black. My bobbin thread was light gray. There's enough going on in the middle that the thread is not going to come through, and I was being lazy. You actually cut these strips the width of fabric. So I'm just going to snip it off there, and this one I'm just going to snip off. As you can see, my batting stretched a little bit. I'm just going to trim it up and sew it. This is how it looks on the back. The batting will stretch. You can pin it if you want. I was being rather quick, so I think I told you all of the sewing secrets. Let me trim off this batting so it doesn't get in the way. I think you know what step we're going to take next. I bet you can figure it out. If you thought that I was going to flip this over and sew this seam, you're absolutely right. See how smart you are? But the first thing I'm going to do is pin this side because I want to make sure these two decorative strips match. So I'm going to put a pin here on this side and here on this side, and then give the whole piece a 1/2 inch seam like so. These are really fast. As you can see, I have the side seams, both of them sewn, and the bottom seam sewn all the way. Now the next thing I'm going to do is box the seams. And what you do is simply match the seam sewn like so. And sew at a 1/2 inch right here. This is where wonder clips or pins would definitely help. I have pins right here, so I'll use those. Sew those at a 1/2 inch seam and do that on all 4 corners on both pieces. I am back from the machine and my corners are all boxed. And you know what? They look funny. Can you see that? What is wrong with these corners? You know what I didn't do? I didn't read my own directions. Duh! You're not supposed to cut out a 2-inch piece. The directions say to cut out a 3-inch piece. So I have done that on the lining. I've cut out a 3-inch corner. I'm grateful that I left that black thread in my machine because it was easier to unpick. It looks like I have a little bit left. Let me show you what I did. I cut out another inch, just like that. I'm going to re-sew the corners and they're going to look cute like they fit. I'm also going to sew the lining. I'm going to put the lining right sides together and sew a side seam at a 1/2 inch here and here. And then I'm going to sew the bottom up to here and here. I'm going to leave about 5 inches open to turn. Then I'll sew the corners. And I'll come back on the video when I have my corners on my lining sewn and the corners on my box sewn. Before I put them in on my box, I'm going to do some pressing and show you how to do that. It makes them look really nice and square. I have my baskets boxed and they look a lot better. By the way, this happens when you construct them. You just kind of keep pressing it. It peels away. The iron-on foam doesn't stick real great, but enough to get through the project. So I have both of my linings done. This is for the big basket. This is for the small basket. Notice that the seams are pressed open, and I'm going to set those aside. Notice that the corners aren't boxed. I'm going to go box these corners right now because they need to be boxed to go inside this basket. I am going to, how I press, I'm going to press that seam down, and I just put a lot of pressure on the iron. Then I'm going to turn the basket so the outside fabric is to the outside. Isn't that a cute shape? I just love it. I push my fingers down inside, open them up and stretch it out. And this is where I do some extra pressing. I eyeball this seam right here, fold it like so, and then I lay it down and press it. And I do this several times in the process. When I get it all done, I also press it again. But it helps it to be boxy, to kind of hold its shape. Now, doesn't that look nice compared to that? Take the time to press your seams. It really makes a difference. And then when I get these all done and I get the lining in the basket, I press it again. Now, if you really want to get into it, I've also pressed these seams before. See how I did that? I just flip it over so it's on the bottom. Can you see the shape of the box? All we need to do is put the lining in. Doesn't it look great when you press the seams? So I have my lining all boxed up, and I'm just going to take my basket like this, using my fingers, poke it in the center and fold it shut. And it folds shut really nice because I pressed it so well. But it folds really nice. Then I'm going to fit it over my basket like so, and matching the side seams together. With the one where the foam is, I'm just holding it with my finger. I'm kind of finger pressing it, and I'm just going to place a wonder clip, and I'm going to work this up. I want this to fit nice and snug. So I'm going to clip this all the way around. These are really fun, pretty darn easy to sew. I can't wait to give these to my little friend. Everybody deserves a little treat once in a while, right? She sure does. So the lining is clipped to the basket. I'm to take them to my machine, and this is the free arm of my sewing machine. I'm going to open it up like this and sew it all the way around. I have this basket already sewn. I just need to turn it inside out. And I'm going to do that before your very eyes. So this is how it looks when you turn it inside out. I don't like this. Let me show you what I'm going to do. But first, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and close this hole up. Then I'm going to have this. Now, you have a couple of choices here. You could leave your lining like it is and stitch it down right along this line. I don't like that. I want to turn my lining at the seam like that and press it down, put on a wonder clip, and then I want to top stitch it down all the way around. It's not real difficult, but you do kind of have to work and tug and work. It's going to be easier once I get it all sewn down to give it a good press on the inside. Then I'll take it to the machine. When I get it all pressed and clipped down, top stitch it down. I really think that the pressing is the key to having a really nice shaped. You know, my mom taught me to iron. I remember as a teenager having to iron my dad's National Guard uniforms. In fact, I don't even think I was a teenager. I was probably 9 or 10, putting 3 creases down the back. Oh, I hated that, but learned to love ironing. Well, from this, a little thought in my head, to ta-da, this. Can you see that I've nested them? I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. And the reason I nested them is because I'm putting some you know, little glam and pampering lotions and things in, maybe bath salts, in the baskets before I gift them. And I don't want to fill 2 baskets. I also wanted the option of having one a little bit smaller. And that's this one right here. It is 2 inches narrower. So I took, to remind you, I took 2 inches off of the 16.5 measurement. So that was the length. And this one is 16.5 measurement. But in reality, they come across here. This is only 10 inches. Look at that. It nests quite nicely. So I think this is going to be a really cute gift. Can you see the stitch length right here where I sewed the lining down and gave it kind of a decorative finish stitch at the top? For top stitching, I want it to look a little nicer and the stitches to be stitches, not clumped up. And so I put it up just 2 notches past the 3 to do that. I also did the same on this that you can't see because I use black thread on black, but if you use another color, you'll be able to see the stitches. So always when you top stitch, that's a little tip. You want to lengthen your stitch. It looks a lot better. And then I also re-ironed the inside all the way around. Can you see that? It looks really nice. Now, I do want to disclose that there is a little bit of extra fabric in here, but I just push and iron it down. I have mine filled with fat quarters. The lady who's getting these doesn't sew, so she's getting lotions and bubble baths and girly stuff, maybe a hairbrush or hair ties, and that's what's going in hers. You can use them for anything. So I'm really excited about this gift. One thing I did different was the decorative strip around the top. I kind of like how I did that. It looks like there's two. This one is thinner. That's it. Oh, you know what I need to do? Ta-da! That's a nice ta-da and a pretty fast one. Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you like my videos, I would love it if you would, you know what to do. The big S, the subscribe. We hate to ask for it, but we love it when you do. Thank you for all of your comments. I heard from so many of you from so many exotic places, and then just from neighboring towns. It was actually kind of fun. And I can't read everybody's location every time, but I'm going to do it again. So I want you to know that. Now, I'm headed off to my retreat this next week. I can't wait to go. I'm probably not going to film it because you know what? I need to retreat really, really bad. But I have a fun video. This is going to post while I'm gone, and there'll be a fun video when I come back. So thank you so much for watching. You make my day with your comments. Love you all. Bye.